Good morning. Dwayne here, Dry Creek Wrangler School. Coming to you from Bandera, Texas this morning. I had a little stud colt several years ago. He was foundation bred. He went back to King and Poco Bueno on both sides. Little dun colt. I bought him as a weanling, and I had a lot of hopes for that little guy. But he was a hard twist, and I didn't know what I was doing so much. And I never did turn that horse into what I wanted. Never did turn that horse into what I was hoping for. And after a few years of just disappointment and fighting with him, I sold him. That's been, I don't know, over 15 years ago. And I look back now at where I am today, and I think, man, I sure wish I had that horse today. I made so many mistakes with that horse. So many mistakes. And if you work horses over the years and you learn and grow, you'll get to the point where you say, I messed up. I was ignorant. I wish I knew better. And there's times you may be to the point now where you realize I've been doing this all wrong. And so I want to cover that in the video this morning. What do you do when you mess up? Now, for a lot of folks, it seems pretty straightforward, pretty simple. What do you do when you mess up? By the way, Quorum Maduro, very inexpensive sticks, but pretty good for a daily stick. You can get them for just $2 or $3 a piece, and that's what we're having this morning. So if you realize that horses, first off, let me back up. Horses are pretty forgiving. Okay, horses are pretty forgiving. So when you realize you've been doing something wrong with your horse, a lot of times it's fixable. But what should you do? Well, first, like anything in life, if you mess up, the first step is stop doing it. That's the most direct, logical, straightforward answer to about anything in life. If you do something wrong and you realize it's wrong, stop doing it. But we never get past that point. So many times we realize that what we're doing is wrong, but we don't stop. We just keep on. Maybe it's pride, maybe it's arrogance, maybe it's laziness. Maybe it's because we don't know what else to do, so we keep doing that, so we're at least doing something. But if you did something wrong, if you're doing something wrong with your horse, stop doing it. For me, a lot of times it's years down the road, and I look back at a horse I had, and I learned something today, and I look back 20 years ago, and I'm like, man, I wish I hadn't been doing that with that horse. But there's things today that you can learn. It's like the way you've been approaching your horse, the way you've been training your horse or teaching your horse, and you say, man, I shouldn't be doing that. Well, then stop. I mean, it's logical. It's so simple up front, but stop doing it. Next thing is, now this one's a little bit, but make it right. Now, a horse isn't a person. And a lot of times, in most cases, there's no point to go to the horse for the horse's sake and say, I'm sorry. But sometimes you need to for yourself. I'll illustrate. I was working a little horse in Alaska. She was a little sorrel filly, and she was a nice little filly. I really liked that little filly. But she had issues, and she was just nervous about a lot of things. There were a lot of things. We'd be out on the trail, and she would just stop and say, no, I don't know about this. And I'd work her through it. But it happened quite a bit. So we took a string out, and I was riding in the back. And the place where we were riding, we went through this bottom with little scrubby black spruce. And then we come around, and then we come to a place where the grass was really high, and there was a giant, huge spruce tree, and everything was really close. And you ride through that, and then as you come through that, you come up a steep bank, and then come out in the open on the trail up there. Well, we were riding in the back. There was another wrangler was leading, and I was riding in the back. And we came through, and everybody went through that spot and went through that really thick stuff under that big spruce tree. And all of a sudden, she just stopped. She just plowed to a stop. And so I smooched her and said, "Let's go." And she's like, "I'm not going." Well, I got impatient, and I thumped her and spanked her pretty good and said, "Let's go." So she went. And we got right in the middle of that thick part underneath that spruce tree. And we wound up in a hornet's nest, literally, not figuratively. So in Alaska, in that part of Alaska, there's hornets, and they make nests in the ground. And it wasn't uncommon. The old horses had learned, you just keep going, and we get out of it. But she wasn't used to it. And what had happened was all the other horses had gone through, and they're vibrating the ground as they went by. They had stirred up that nest. And the one in the back, by the time the one in the back gets there, they get the full brunt of it. Well, I couldn't hear them. I didn't know, but she knew that they were there, and she didn't want to go in there. And I didn't listen to her, and so I pushed her. So we went in there right in the middle of that swarming hornet's nest. Now, like I said, the older horses knew, just hurry up on through and get out the other side, but she didn't know that. So we got right in the middle of that, and that silly mare put her head down and started bucking right in the middle of that. And so, I mean, we were getting stung. I was getting stung. She was getting stung. I was fighting off bees and trying to ride her out bucking, because I did not want to get bucked off on foot in the middle of that either. And finally, I had to just take my spurs, and I had to just, and she jumped, and we jumped and came out the other side, came up on the trail. She stood there trembling. I had stings on my face and stings on my ears and stings on my arms, and she had some stings on her. And we sat there, and I just petted her and scratched her and just let her calm down and just apologized to her profusely. Now, I don't know how much she understood of my apology, but my apology was an humbling of myself as much as anything. I had not listened to my horse. I did not trust my horse, and my horse had told me there's something bad in there, and I didn't listen. And I learned from that. So stop doing it, and secondly, make it right. Okay, for yourself as much for your horse, if that makes sense. Thirdly, learn the right way to do it, and then do it. One of the big mistakes that people make with horses, if they realize they've been doing something wrong, they just stop because they're afraid to do anything wrong. Don't stop. Don't quit. Okay, learn, use it as a time to grow and mature. Learn the right way to do it. You say, "Oh, I don't know the right way to do it." Well, try something different than what you're doing. There's all kinds of videos on the internet, and there's people to ask. If you're trying something, you realize, "Oh, that's not good. I shouldn't be doing that." Find something else and try it. And you say, "What if that don't work?" Well, what if it does? If it don't work, stop it and try something different. Your best teacher is failure. Is failure. You cannot learn the deep, serious things in life. You cannot learn unless you fail, and you can't fail unless you try. The men who have succeeded the most are the men who have failed the most, and women. Sorry, old school, I can't help it. All right, don't mean anything by it. Those who have succeeded the most are those who have failed the most, and those who have failed the most are those who have tried the most. Okay? So this is Dwayne, Dry Creek Wrangler School. I just want to encourage you to don't quit and keep trying. Okay? If you like the video, click like, share it with somebody, subscribe if you haven't. We do have a Patreon account now if you want to go check that out. And we'll catch you next time. Bye.